You're listening to Bring Me the Axe. I'm Brian White, one half of this morbid equation, and I'm joined by my co-host and actual brother, Dave White. Hey, Dave, how you doing?
Oh, thank you for asking. I'm okay. You know, our apartment search continues apace, and it is a deeply frustrating experience that is unpleasant and makes me feel bad about myself. You know, I've noticed every time I do this, and I don't do this very often because I don't like to move. It's my least favorite thing. And I notice there's like a new thing every time in sort of real estate listings. And the one I've noticed recently is that it'll say like 1 bedroom plus, or, you know, 2 bedroom, whatever, bedroom plus. And it'll say, you know, this 1 bedroom plus den / study. And I'll show a picture of it. And I think that's a closet. There was one that I looked at recently. I was just looking at the listing. And it was like, you know, she showed this, you know, what it called a den, and it had a desk in it. And I'm looking at it, and I was like, this is off the bedroom. It is literally a walk-in closet.
That's pretty awesome. That's great how you can just sort of like declare reality in such a way that you're like, you know what? This closet, it's a little bigger than a regular closet. Yeah. So I'm just going to take all this shit out, and we'll just call it, it an office. Yeah,
it's real slimy. Even our realtor, who is a wonderful person, we had conflicting things, and so they went to look at a listing for us and did like a video tour, and they were like, there's these 2 really big closets, you could probably use one of these as an office. And I was thinking, the fuck is wrong with you? Like, you can't stand up in there, let alone put a giant desk in there and then sit in it for 9 hours or more.
That'd be fucking terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah. Like, I literally sit at a desk writing for like 8 or 9 hours a day. I'm not going to sit in a windowless closet, which is very clear. Like, it has like a clothes bar on the top, like very clearly a closet.
There's some shelving in there too.
Yeah. I was like, I don't think that's going to work, but thank you. So yeah, all in all, it's a depressing situation.
Well, that's pretty great.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know what I did today? I watched this true crime series that's streaming on one of the networks, and it's got the best title I think that I've ever heard. It's called "Frogging Hider in My House."
Oh, that shit is terrifying.
So yeah, terrible fucking title, but utterly like blood curdling stories of like people living in your house while you're also living there, but you don't know it because they're like in the attic or something like that.
Yeah, it's a real Bad Ronald situation.
Yeah, the one that they start out with is an actual like Bad Ronald type story about a kid who sort of became obsessed with this like 14-year-old girl that he sort of met. Not directly, but he was like talking to her on the phone a lot.
Oh, this is in New Hampshire, right?
Yes, this was in New Hampshire.
Yeah, that's a frightening story.
And like they have no idea, but he like sneaks into their house and manages to just sort of like live there while they're all living there. And it's like this father.
He convinces them that like that they're like communicating with their dead mother's ghost or something like that. And, you know, they're teenagers, so they're stupid and they think they are.
But then in the end, it's like there is this absolute fucking maniac like living in the house, like terrorizing them with a fucking hatchet.
And then he went and murdered someone else.
Yeah, and then he went and he fucking raped and murdered a pregnant woman, and like drowned her children. And
Jesus Christ, what a maniac!
My God, yeah.
So that's why you shouldn't have these, you know, quote unquote studies where people could just be living and you wouldn't even know it because it's just a big closet.
Yeah. So
I don't know what goes on in there. It's none of my business.
No. Moral of the story: always check the attic.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very, very important thing to do. Oh God. Hey, so why don't we get on? Let's get on with this.
Nice.
Let's not put this off any longer.
Thanks.
As much as I would love to. So we practically grew up in neighborhood video stores as the steady diet of utter garbage that those shops provided us with continues unabated to this day. And there's no one else I enjoyed chopping it up with more about trashy movies than Dave. So here's just before we get into it, just a little housekeeping. If you want to keep up with us in between episodes, you can also find us on Instagram at Bring Me the Axe Pod. And Dave's over there at That Queerwolf. I encourage you to follow us both. We have a good time. We're fun. We've got a little TikTok thing going on. You can search for us by name over there. You know, it's just more of the same. You get to see my face, and I kind of ham it up as I'm wont to do.
You don't get to see my face.
No, because you refuse to partake.
I
won't put the pressure on you.
I don't like social media.
Yeah, it's a burden. It's a burden that we must bear. Yeah. And if you don't know, we have another show called 99 Cent Rental, where we cover all manner of video store madness on the weeks that bring me the axes off. Our latest episode covering the utterly bananas Charles Bronson movie 10 to Midnight is out now. We've got a guest, Jeff Nelson. And we'll be back next week with a look at the 90s sexy animated thing, Cool World.
Oh, God. Hey, look, this was a last minute switch and I might have made a mistake, but we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. I was obsessed with it when I was a kid. And so,
let's see. I mean, if there's a one reason that we do that other pod, it's to sort of go back and say, hey, was this any good? What we're finding is a lot of the time the answer is no, it wasn't. It wasn't very good. Oh, good God, tonight's Jesus fucking.
Yeah.
Hey, lastly, if you like what you hear, you can subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. We're on YouTube now. Search us by name and subscribe if you prefer to consume your podcast that way. And you'll be doing us a favor by leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So get to it.
Yeah, and share it on your social media.
Yeah,
maybe you like an episode, or tell your friends. Maybe you're like, I know somebody who's going to like this. Here you go.
Yeah. And if you listen on YouTube, do us a favor, give the episode a like and leave a comment. We do indeed love hearing from you guys. So we do. You shut up in your face. Just want to get all that out of the way right at the top of the show, because we're going to give you a taste of tonight's business. Here's a taste.
Once upon a time when the world was filled with wonder, little creatures shared the earth with humans. And magic was a way of life. Once upon a time is now. Empire Pictures presents Troll. The weirdest, the rowdiest, the most mischievous, and the scariest little creature of them all.
I think that what he's doing is going from apartment to apartment and transforming sections of this building into different fairy worlds.
The hell are you? The transformation is going to begin on the Witch's Sabbath, the very same day that the Potters move into their new apartment.
I've never seen so many guys take so long to move so little furniture.
It's all your records, honey. You gotta get rid of some of these records.
Sometimes I wonder what I'm gonna do. Lord, there ain't no cure for the summertime blues.
What the Potters don't know is that they've just moved into the building that is the enchanted gateway to the ancient world of Troll.
Shut that damn door. Wendy! Didn't you hear Mommy calling you, honey? No, Mommy.
It's Daddy. It's Daddy.
Harry Jr. is about to be drawn into a world beyond his wildest fantasy, and he'll need a little magic of his own to get out of it alive. Harry Potter Jr. expected to have a little trouble getting adjusted in his new neighborhood. But he never expected anything like this. Troll, where myths and legends come to life.
Jesus Christ.
It's the longest fucking trailer I've ever seen. It's basically the whole movie.
It's I don't know. This movie runs about 82 minutes and it feels it took me all fucking day to watch it. I felt like I keep stopping it and like taking a walk. Really,
I don't know why I thought this was a good idea. I think I watched it recently and was like, hey, this movie's fun. You should do this one. And now I regret that. I regret having thought that.
I got a real soft spot for all the Empire Pictures, Full Moon Pictures, anything Charles Band related, anything involving the Band family. Really,
yeah.
Because it is really a family affair. And I love they are the scrappiest bunch of filmmakers that I think I've ever seen. They crank out mostly garbage, but most of the time it's just some of the most charming shit. And every now and then they'll put something out that's like really fucking good.
Not this. This is not it.
One of them. This was an interesting experiment, I think, because originally I think it was intended to be like a horror movie.
Yep.
And Band was like, you know what? We haven't really tried to crack the family movie market yet. So, like, why don't we tame this one down and see if we can get a PG rating? Because I think it's a PG rated movie.
I think it's either that or PG-13. Yeah. It's not R. I know that.
Yeah. It's a movie that's supposed to be filled with wonder and magic and whimsy. It's mostly just crappy rubber monsters.
Yeah, it's filled with bizarre choices, is what it is. And recognizable people. And you're confused why they're in this. I too have a soft spot for more the Empire stuff than I do Full Moon stuff. I think the Full Moon stuff.
For some reason, I have a disproportionate sort of memory of Full Moon. When I say Full Moon, I think what I really mean is Puppet Master, really. Because I love that whole series, like all of them. Up to a point. After a while, they sort of fold in on themselves. But like these sort of core Puppet Master movies, I think are great. Some of the subspecies movies I think are pretty good.
Yeah.
But a lot of it was real fucking trash.
Yeah. And I mean, at a certain point in Roger Corman, God rest his soul, he also kind of started to do this a little bit later in his career. Like when he started to get involved with like Sharknado and shit, like you just start cranking things out. I don't know if it's just because like you feel like it's just what you do. Because clearly with Empire, they were putting a lot of effort into things. It was cheap and it looked cheap, but it still felt like they were making something. They were giving you a movie. It was a movie you were going to watch on TV, but it was still like a full thing.
Oh, sure. And
the Full Moon stuff, though, is like, that's real direct-to-video shit and then eventually direct-to-VOD stuff. And it's like, I don't know. This isn't very good, and it feels like you didn't invest that much in it either.
Right. Like the thing that I definitely can really appreciate about the Empire period and some of the Full Moon period is, despite the fact that these movies were often made on like tiny fucking budgets, they had like very ambitious visions for their special effects department, and there's some of that in this. But like, you did not often see stop motion animation in like similar low budget fare, but Charles Band made it fucking work.
Yeah.
And like it's the thing, but like, ooh, good God, not here.
Well, I'll tell you what though, one of the things that occurred to me while I was watching this, because I watched a lot of the special features. Well, there's only one special feature, but it was a documentary, but like a making of,
right?
Yeah. So I watched that, and I also like read a bunch of shit, found a couple interviews and stuff, and I'll get to some of the other stuff in it a little bit later on, but the big takeaway from that stuff is that everybody involved in this movie had a really good time making it. And I think when that is the case, when I know that to be the case, I'm either a lot more interested or a lot more forgiving than I would be with something else. So as I, kind of went through this, because this is not a good movie. And I think it's not a bad movie. It's just not a good movie either. It's sort of just stuck in the middle somewhere. Mm-hmm. And I'm still watching it knowing that all these people had such a great time. And I think that sort of warms me to it a little bit more than I otherwise would have been.
Yeah. We've done a couple of movies like that in the past where like the production stories that you hear from it is basically like, this movie's not very good. And like, really, like, who gives a shit? But we all had fun making it. I think that's a quality that has a tendency to shine through.
Mm-hmm. And so, I think the opposite is also true. Like if I know that people who made it really had a terrible experience, like kind of across the board, I'm much less interested in seeing it, or much less less willing to let myself get into it. Like something like The Shining or The Exorcist, like knowing what a piece of shit William Friedkin was on that set and as a director, and I know why, but like I still think knowing whatever put everyone through, it's kind of like it's not harder to like this movie when you kind of tortured everybody in order to make it happen. Like you don't need to go to those lengths to make a movie. And so knowing that, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I know it's good, but I also know that these people suffered to make it and they didn't have to. So
yeah. Yeah, and it also it would seem to me like, I mean, probably and to anybody listening to this, that honestly Troll is probably not the go-to movie of movies called Troll. Like I think at one point we did have Troll 2 scheduled, but that's a movie that it is so firmly rooted in the culture as a sort of bad movie, and it's been covered and covered and covered. And there's a really solid documentary about it called Best Worst Movie that, like, honestly, I don't think that there is anything that we could possibly say about that movie. Also, I'll be honest, I don't really like Troll 2.
No, it's not good. I mean, it's abject garbage is what it is, but it's also not fun to watch. Like it's fun to watch with somebody who's never seen it because they're so bewildered by it.
Yeah.
But just because we started to watch that one when we watched the last time we watched this one, I put that one on after. I'm like, this just kind of sucks. Like, it's like they're not actors, so the acting is truly terrible. The story is bonkers and like makes zero sense, and it looks like shit. It's like the only saving grace, as far as I'm concerned, is that it's one of those ones where it's like, this is Italians making an American movie, and you know I love that.
Yeah. Because also this movie is Italians making an American movie.
That's true.
Yeah, but Troll 2 has the Claudio Fragasso is his name. Yeah, like he's a dude who did a lot for Fabrizio De Angelis after.
Yeah, like late
really,
80s, early
like
90s stuff.
Long after, and a lot of the stuff that he makes is garbage. And the one major takeaway that I really kind of love about that Troll 2 documentary is when he found out that people were watching it, he was super disappointed that they weren't like, "Oh, this movie's great." He was like, he seemed very, very offended that it had sort of fallen into this kind of cult camp thing where everybody was like watching it because they thought it was stupid. Good God,
I mean, I guess you gotta give him some credit. He takes his art very seriously.
Takes his craft seriously. He is so mad during that documentary, like the whole time.
I mean, this is the same guy who made like, I don't know, Zombie 4 and shit. Like,
yeah. I think he also made did he also make The Ogre, which is the other sort of unofficial Troll sequel?
Maybe. I watched something recently that he made. It was fucking terrible. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, he is not like any of the like, I think once you get to like the late 80s in terms of like Italian exploitation output is real garbage.
It's very rough going. I don't really know where the demarcation line is, but once you're into the 90s,
I think it's like 87.
Yeah, it's got to be right around there because there is one that I think that Fragasso made with Al Festa, who's actually a musician and like a composer.
I think that's Zombie 4.
Well, the one that I'm thinking of is Fatal Frames, the Jello that Al Festa made for his girlfriend. That's one that we're gonna have to do eventually because that one is fucking crazy. But yeah, anyways, back to Trolls. Should we run down the facts on this one?
Yeah, yes, we must.
Yeah. So the year was 1986, year of our Lord. It was quite a year for horror movies.
I was in first grade.
Yeah. Aliens came out in 1986.
That's a good movie.
Yep. The Hitcher, which we just did on 99 Cent Rent. Or no, we did this one. We did it last 2 weeks ago.
That's not a good movie.
No, that's the one. But go back and listen to it because we've got it's a very thoughtful episode.
Yeah.
Yep. Also in 86, The Fly came out.
That is a good movie.
Hell of a movie right there. Yeah. Super gross and gooey.
Yeah.
And let's see, bringing it up, we got Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer.
I very much dislike that film. It upsets me a lot.
It's a grimy little movie that is, I think, supposed to make you upset.
Yep.
And rounding out 1986, Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives came out.
That is not a good.
I like.
Wait, which one is that? Oh, I know I like that one. That's the one where.
That's the one with Arnold Horshack.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. That's good. I was thinking of the. I was thinking of New Blood, which is coincidentally directed by John Carl Buechler.
Yeah. So speaking of John Carl Buechler, he is the director of this movie, and this is his first feature film. Prior to this, he directed one of the segments in The Dungeon Master, which is that kind of weird sort of anthology movie that Empire did. I think Charles Band is technically the director on that one.
Yeah, it has like 6 directors, but yes, I think he is.
And the wraparound segments. But yeah, that's the one where basically it's Richard Mall, Bull from
Night Court, yeah.
menacing a guy who's got a little computer that he wears on his arm. It's also got a laser. And it turns out that to overcome all obstacles in that movie, all you got to do is just shoot it with a laser.
Yeah. Now that is an Empire film that I do very much like.
I do like that one quite a bit.
He also made Cellar Dweller, which is another one that I really like.
Yeah. You can get both of those in that Arrow Empire box that's out right now. It's pretty good. I recommend that one. Yep. But this dude's, well, he goes on, he directs a whole bunch of stuff, but like his real profession was creature effects, which are on full display here. He was Charles Band's regular special effects guy, and in his time, he did some really cool special effects work. When budgets were low, his creatures had a tendency to look like really crappy rubber toys.
You can tell that he's really heavily influenced by like Harryhausen in that kind of early Hollywood. Where things they're clearly made out of like clay.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's commendable. But when the money was there, you ended up with really fun stuff. Like when he did work on Reanimator and From Beyond, he also designed the makeup for the Mandroid in Eliminators, which is legitimately awesome shit. Like that is a very, very cool like series of appliances and makeup in that one. That's
I think in this one,
that's the one where the guy's like got like a half track that he rides around on. So goddamn cool.
I think that the quote unquote troll in this one, because y'all, there are not trolls in this movie, but the main troll, I think the makeup on him and the appliances on him look really good. I think they did a really good job. It's everything else that doesn't look good.
I think a lot of the other ones first of all, they're all very small. And I think a lot of them were.
There's a lot of recycling here
because like there are some that you can see that were very clearly used in Ghoulies. And one of the monsters that is sort of prominently featured throughout it, like one of the smaller guys, was also in Dungeon Master.
Yep.
It's just a lot of that going on. Also, I think the big monster at the end is the Cellar Dweller.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah.
Good for them.
They stretch a dollar.
Hey, you got to get your money's worth. You spent a lot of money on that giant fluffy monster.
Yeah. So we got for our cast, we've got Michael Moriarty.
In what has to be for a man who has a varied and strange career, this might be one of his weirdest performances.
I get the feeling like he showed up and he was just like, who is this character I'm playing? And they're like, I don't know, man, figure it out.
Pretty much. That is exactly what happened. And then apparently like Charles Band grabbed like a bucket hat off of one of the crew members and was like, put it on his head. And he's like, you're this guy. And he was like, all right, I'm this guy. I guess that means I'm a big doofus. Yeah. And he does it because Michael Moriarty is a good actor, like a legitimately good actor.
Yeah. He's a Larry Cohen regular.
Yep.
He's on about 100 episodes of Law and Order.
Yeah, he was like the original prosecutor on Law and Order. And then I think he died not that long ago. I think.
No.
He's in the Stuff, and he does that weird accent in the Stuff. He's in Q, Winged Serpent, great movie. He's in a Return to Salem's Lot, doing an equally strange character. So he's really good at like playing these weirdos. And in this, it's like he's a weirdo who's also a dad, and it doesn't quite work.
That's the thing. In this movie, he seems to be acting as though he had, like, maybe in his character's past, he decided that this character had suffered a grievous head injury.
Yeah, he definitely comes across as though like he has been in a bad car accident. He seems confused most of the time.
Yeah. So playing mom in this is Shelley Hack, who was one of the latter-day Charlie's Angels. I think she was like the last.
She's the last one
of the Farrah Fawcett replacements. Yeah.
She's also in a movie called Death Car on the Freeway. It's a TV movie from the 70s about a serial killer who is killing women with his car on the highway. It's a very odd movie because it's like kind of a little bit feminist, but it also is clearly written by men. So it's like, oh, you sort of get this, but you're pretty wide of the mark too.
Yeah, A for effort.
Yeah, it's kind of that. It's sort of like when we watched The Brood, and it's like, oh, you're most of the way there. You still don't like women, though.
Right. Apart from Troll, she also shows up in The Stepfather and does bit parts and TV roles here and there. It's about the mid-90s when she retires from the biz. And rounding it out, we've got Noah Hathaway, who is totally unrecognizable apart from the role that literally every 80s kid knows him from, that being Atreyu.
Now listen.
The Neverending Story.
I watched a bunch, like, even reading and watching that making of thing. They are all like Noah Hathaway, the hottest young actor, this, that. It's like, okay, I understand that Neverending Story was kind of a hit. It was maybe a bit of an unexpected hit. And that he probably got a lot of recognition. They're talking as though it's E.T. Where they're just like, he is he is Michael Jackson. Like, he is the biggest star. I can't believe we got him because he gets top billing in this movie.
Yeah. Well, because this was produced in 85, which I believe Neverending Story came out in 84. So he was just like hot in the headlines. But the thing is like he didn't really do anything after Neverending Story. I think he did this. Yep. And then he kind of vanishes into TV and sort of like disappears for a little while.
Because guess what? He's not a good actor.
Not really. I never realized this until I did the research. He was the plucky kid on Battlestar Galactica, Boxy.
Yep.
Yeah. And he gets out of acting somewhere in the late 80s, takes up dance and martial arts, having a he had a short pro career in Muay Thai, which is awesome.
All right.
He was also a professional tattoo artist.
Weird. What a career.
Yeah.
What a life.
Yeah. I think he seemed to make the best of his childhood fame. Like nowadays, like he kind of shows up on the nostalgia market, like doing like direct to video stuff, just picking up a paycheck. You know, he's probably, he seems to be living well.
Get it where you can, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way they talk about him though, they're just like, oh man, he was like a celebrity. I'm like, really? The kid from Neverending Story? Because I also have no the warm fuzzy feelings for Neverending Story. I don't like that movie. I don't think I did as a kid either.
That's the thing. Like I always felt really kind of alone on that because that's for people of a certain age. Like that movie really kind of seems to hold really like a spot in their heart. Not me. I don't know. I never really got it. I think that movie looks cheap.
It does look cheap. And that's what this movie is sort of trying to capitalize. Because you also have around that same time, you got Legend. What's the Labyrinth? You get Labyrinth as well.
Yep. Which I believe all three of those came out. Like
they all come out right around the same time. And those movies, maybe Neverending Story a little less so, but like the other two had huge budgets. They were made by very professional, well-respected people. This is not that. But you can tell that they're trying to sort of capitalize on that sort of like spooky fantasy that was really appealing to children at the time. And unfortunately, this one doesn't really hit the mark on either side. It's like, you're not horror, but you're not really fantasy either. And that was the reviews. That's the consensus for the reviews mostly. It's like, I know what you're trying to do. You're just not doing it.
Right. Yeah. It seems to have the same sort of qualities that a lot of children's programming in the 80s did. That when we talked about the peanut butter solution, it's that kind of like, it's all good. Like throw everything at this movie. Put like, it doesn't give the weirder, the better. Just like make it zany and strange. And just like vaguely fantasy, and kids will just figure it out. Like,
that's probably a lot of truth to that. Like kids don't give a shit what they're watching. Like we're watching this as, middle-aged men, but like to watch it as a kid, you're not paying that close attention. You want it to be kind of flashy, like jingling keys, like it just, you get, as long as it kind of like holds your attention, that's great. This one just looks so fucking cheap that it's like you cannot stay in the fantasy. And I am someone who has a really, really hard time immersing myself in a movie, especially when it's like a fantasy. It's something that's very sort of like, it's not anti-mimetic, but it's as close as you're going to get. I have a really hard time with that. And this one in particular is like, it just looks so fucking cheap that I'm like, I can't get into any of this or like feel the whimsy of it because I cannot escape the fact that like, it is clearly shot on a soundstage in what it looks like an apartment, but like the saddest apartment I've ever seen. And so it's like, not only do I not feel whimsy, I'm now a little bit depressed.
Yeah,
too.
like the last occupant of this apartment had died, and that's why it was vacated. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the thing. That's also another thing. Like points off for me is I'm just not a fan of fantasy.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Like storybook or like Dungeons and Dragons high fantasy. Like I don't really care for any of that stuff. It's just not my style at all. So this was a real hard sell on me in the first place. But also, like, I mean, the rest of the cast is pretty bonkers, but also like remarkable. Like Julia Louis-Dreyfus is in this. I believe is her first feature.
It's her first feature, yeah.
And she had been on SNL for like a season or two before this, I think.
Really? I thought that was later. I thought that was like 86, 87. Like when they added like Anthony Michael Hall, like that weird period where it's here's not comedy people on SNL.
Yeah.
I mean, she's barely in it. Like,
she is barely in it. Oh yeah. No, she was a cast member from 82 to 85.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Longer than I thought.
Yeah. But yeah.
She does not have good feelings about this. I think
No. I one of the things that I kept seeing that I was so badly trying to find a clip is Jay Leno apparently like had her on the show in like 2013 or something like that. Probably like, I don't know, that must have been like the start of Veep or something like that. And he's like, hey, remember when you were in Troll? And she was like, God damn it, Jay.
Now, I on one hand, I get it. You don't want to be reminded of like the bad shit you did. But on the other hand, it's like, come on, lady, get a sense of humor.
Lighten up. Everybody does this.
Even Kevin Bacon warmed to Tremors, you know?
Yeah. But also like we've got, let's see,
Sonny Bono.
Lockhart. Sonny Bono.
Yeah. June Lockhart and her daughter.
And her daughter, Ann Lockhart, playing the same character. We've got, that's really kind of it, right? The Sonny Bono character is,
weird,
without a doubt, the strangest character in the movie. Like, what the fuck?
Who's Julia Louis-Dreyfus's husband is in it, too.
Yes, that's right. I think that's like all he's kind of known for, because I definitely don't recognize that guy from anywhere.
Yeah, he is known as Julia Louis-Dreyfus's husband.
Yeah.
Mr. Louis-Dreyfus.
He took her name.
Weirdly, the DP on this, though, is a guy, Romano Albani, who did a bunch of stuff, I think, with Charles Band. But before that, he worked with Dario Argento a bunch.
Right. Yeah. Because there was always a lot of that crossover in that world. Because this movie was produced in Italy.
Yeah, like they're pulling either, if it's the Italian guys, they're pulling from Argento and, all the 70s, early 80s people. And then if they're Americans, he's taking them from kind of Corman's lot after Corman left to start New World.
Yeah. So, but also like, yeah, I believe that's his castle that's in the movie, the formerly the property of Dino De Laurentiis.
The De Laurentiis castle. Yeah, because that's where they shot the whole thing. The whole thing is, there's like 11 sound stages in that castle.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's fucking wild. Yeah, because that's the same castle from Castle Freak.
Yep.
As well. Yeah. Like he really got his use out of that.
Well, you can tell too when you watch interviews with Charles Band how much he really loves Italy.
Yeah. He grew up there. So
he did. And he's a very charming guy. Like he seems like a really nice person. The whole family seems like I think I texted you that. I'm like, they just seem like really nice people. And you can tell he really loves it. And when a bunch of people were saying like when he brought them all to Italy, because this was one of the first movies they had started to make movies there, because the US dollar was really strong in 86 and, in Europe. And then the lira was kind of not very strong. And so the return is huge. Like they could make these movies on the cheap. And so he would just bring everybody from Italy and everyone was just like, oh, he would like put us on like sightseeing tours and like enthusiastically show us around Rome and take us out to dinner. And they were like, we all knew that there was a really small budget on all this stuff. And so it really meant a lot to them that he was like so enthusiastic and so happy to have them there that like he would really wanted them to experience what his Italy. And I think when they were all like, that really just sort of set the right tone that even though we're making this sort of cheap schlocky shit, we're all sort of doing it together and it feels really good. And like, we all just had a good time. And I think that's what I mean is like, it kind of comes through that like, maybe Michael Moriarty's not really getting it, but everybody else is probably having a good time. And, it's like when,
that's kind of the bonus of it is like it's like, yeah, we're making fucking Troll and the budget is probably like a little under $1 million, but it's essentially like a 3-week trip to Italy.
Right. It's why Shelley Winters made Tentacles and The Visitor. Same with John Huston. Like they would just be like, yeah, fuck it. Let's go do it.
Yeah. I want to go to Italy one of these days. Like one of these days I'm going to go to Italy. Preferably with Charles Band.
I want to go somewhere other than Boston, Massachusetts. That place sucks.
Yeah. It's all right. But
yeah, it's fine. It's fun unless you need an apartment with something more than a closet for an office.
To the Charles Band point, there's a book called Confessions of a Puppet Master, and it's his autobiography. I strongly recommend reading it. It's a very, very charming read that gives you a look into the way that he makes movies, and sort of his effect on film and videotape in particular. Yeah. Like what Roger Corman sort of did for film, like he very much did for video.
Yeah, and I think that was their benefit, is that, and also for this movie, like this, he strikes at just the right time. So Corman gets into film in mid-50s, late 50s, and he just hits at the right time. Same with Band. He gets into movies in like mid-50s or mid-80s, right as like home video is taking off. And these movies, because they were just fucking cranking them out, and Vestron, was Vestron? That who's distributing?
That was distributing this stuff?
Yeah, I think it's Vestron.
It might have been. Yeah.
They had like a really good deal with them. And so they would just get these out to everybody, and they became huge, even though they're kind of shitty movies. And I think that's why everybody remembers them so much, is like, you remember seeing Ghoulies on the shelf in the video store. I remember seeing Ghoulies.
Oh yeah. That's a poster that leaves an impression. And like,
same with this one.
Yeah, as we talk about, that's the thing. Like, I very much remember this one on the shelf, and I definitely recall renting this one because it was stocked in the horror section, but it was not out of reach because, like, Mom and Dad did not rent our rated movies for us. So, like, when one came along that was like, oh shit, like I could make a case for this one, like, we definitely took it up.
Yeah, and so I think he really seemed to intuitively know what to do. He was a bit of a showman in that way.
Yeah.
So I just bought the book. It is in a giant pile, or will be in a giant pile when it arrives, but I'm going to get to it eventually.
Yeah. I'd say we do taglines, but the taglines for this movie fucking suck.
Yeah, they're not good. Apartment for rent, inquire within, which is like,
come closer.
Yeah, fuck you. Be better.
I did find a couple from like international pre-sale posters that aren't much better, but like the posters themselves are pretty crazy because they are selling a movie that they did not make.
Right.
Worlds of wonder, worlds of mystery, worlds of fear. These worlds are the kingdom of the troll.
Like, what are you talking about? This takes place in a shitty fake apartment building.
Yeah.
With Sonny Bono.
Horny Sonny Bono.
Yeah, the mayor of Palm Springs, Sonny Bono.
Yeah. Yeah, and then lastly, where myths and legends come to life.
Ugh, boo.
I know, man. It's just, is it that hard to write an enticing tagline?
But I was going to say, just the reviews of this one are just, there's not much to say.
Yeah, honestly, there is not much to know about this movie. Like, typically when we talk trivia, there's just not a whole lot like that they really sort of documented about this one. It was made for somewhere around $1 million, probably most of it going to the cast. It pulled down nearly $3 million in box office, and it actually charted at number 9 on the American box office on its opening weekend.
Yeah, it ended up doing like something like 5.5 million in total.
Like, Jesus Christ, man.
On a $1 million budget, it's pretty good. So like, the way they all talk about this movie is like, everybody comes up to us and they tell us, how important it was, and they still love it so much, and it's so great. And I'm like, okay, guys, maybe reel it in a little bit. There was a great, let me see if I wrote it down. Let me see if I can find it. Because there's a great quote from Charles Band that, where the fuck did I put it? I can't find it now, unfortunately. But he basically is just like, oh, it holds up so well. It's like, I don't think it. I think it does. I think it looks kind of shitty, actually.
Yeah. Because like some of these puppets are very clearly just like somebody's hand stuffed up inside some like rubber creature that John Carl Buechler made.
Yeah, like remember the Boglin puppets in the 80s? They're like that, where they were like really kind of thin rubber. It's like that. They all look like that.
Yeah. Yeah, but like the thing that really gets to me about these ones is like they're all very clearly like one piece.
Yeah. Well, you can tell the way they're moving. You can tell that they have someone's hand inside of it.
Oh, it's such a bummer. But yeah. And then also, like we said, though, Troll 2 and The Ogre are not actual sequels to this movie. The Ogre, I think, is sometimes called Troll 3. Mm-hmm. But I think that they made The Ogre, and then they were like, why don't we slap Troll 3 on this? But many years later. It's kind of like that, there's that movie, the horror show. Yeah. That is, for some reason, it's called
supposed to be Maniac 2.
It was also supposed to be they sell it these days as House 3. But it when it was released, it definitely was not a House movie.
No, because it's also I think it's in the Arrow box set as the third House movie.
Yeah.
You know who else worked on this movie? Howard Berger worked on this too.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotta start somewhere, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Buechler was at the same time, years later, he was producing an actual prequel in the years before his death that manifested as Troll, The Rise of Harry Potter Jr. That was an animated movie that
cash in on that.
Yeah, that brought back a bunch of the original cast for work, but they never finished it.
So this was this was one thing I did learn, was that this was one of the biggest theatrical releases for Empire.
No shit. Well, that kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Almost 1,000 theaters, which is fucking huge.
That's a lot. Yeah.
So,
sweet Jesus.
I mean, that's probably why they ended up, with such a good return on it.
Yeah. So, shall we do it?
Yeah.
Or actually, do you have reviews?
I mean, there's not much. There is a good one. Where was it? Oh, there's a great line from this. So the Boston Globe gave it a pretty good review, which I was like, all right. I'm glad somebody liked it. But the fun part was he was like, it's, where is it? Like, aside from a few shoddy special effects, including a background matte painting of the Golden Gate Bridge that looks as if it was painted by Bonzo, Troll is an imaginative, passively, for those who don't know, she was a French sort of, avant-garde painter, I guess. It's basic. It's a very, what you might call cottage core, I guess, by way of the 60s. Troll is an imaginative, passively frightening monster movie that never takes itself too seriously. I don't know if I'd say it's passively frightening. I don't think there's anything about this movie that's frightening to anybody.
No, it's not scary at all. Like
the LA Times specifically calls out Michael Moriarty's Summertime Blues.
Oh boy, I cannot wait to get to that part. Because
makes me so uncomfortable.
I got thoughts on that scene. Yeah.
But yeah, generally everyone was just sort of like, yeah, it's a movie. And you didn't really do what you thought you did. So, but hey, points for trying.
Yeah. All right. So we open on a castle, and inside that castle is a book with Renaissance illustrations. But then we transition to a forest, which transitions to the city streets of a city in the 80s as the Potter family are moving into their new apartment.
And by city, you mean a backlot in Rome.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my God. Yep.
Because I mean, really, like you may as well have like had signs on the apartment building and there's like stores next to it. You may as well have had signs that just say like food store and like just like big white sign with like blue paint on it.
Yeah, there's one like right next to it that's like lumber.
Yeah, it's like what they would have done for a set on like Sesame Street, where you're like, oh, you're just on everyday street in America.
Yep. And then they're going and they're like, boy, these boxes are so heavy. Oh, it must be all those records you have. You should get rid of those records.
It really feels like not even community theater, something less. What's less than community theater? High school theater?
High school performances, yeah.
Yeah, it has that kind of vibe like, oh, we're moving into our apartment. Really excited to be living in the big city because they're supposed to be in San Francisco.
Yep. So Harry Potter Sr. wearing a
Harry Potter Sr.
wearing a really stupid hat.
Looking ridiculous.
Goes to, it's like this, like it's a bucket hat that's too small for him.
Yep. Like it doesn't even fit his giant head.
No, just resting casually atop his pumpkin head.
Yep.
Yep.
Good old pumpkin head Moriarty.
That's what they called him in the business.
Yep. Yeah, that's the t-shirt. Like Michael Moriarty with a pumpkin head, a dumbass hat,
stupid hat. Yeah. Harry. So he's going off to get rat burgers.
And she says, I wish you wouldn't call them rat burgers in front of the kids. And I thought that's an actual line that professional woman had to say.
Yeah. Harry Potter Jr. is tasked with watching his little sister, who slips off to the basement to play with her ball and ends up in the laundry room.
She is the least charismatic child actor I've ever seen. She's like a knockoff Carol Ann, and she just sucks.
Her name is Wendy Ann.
Yeah, she fucking sucks. I hate this girl. She's no charisma. She's better off as a troll.
What? I disagree. I think she's probably the best part of the movie because her performance is fucking crazy. It's like they just mainlined Kool-Aid straight into her veins.
She's Chrissy from Pecker.
With all that,
just eating a bag of sugar.
It's nuts. It is crazy. Yeah. So she ends up in the laundry room, which I think is the same basement set that they used in Cellar Dweller.
It looks exactly like, and I know it's not, but it looks exactly like, what the fuck is that movie? It's from the 70s. It's a TV movie about like the little creatures, like little goblins that live in the foundation of the house.
The goblins who lived in the foundation.
They made a remake of it. What's his face? Spanish guy. Guillermo del Toro produced a remake of it with the one who was married to. I am fucking nailing it right now. The one who was married to Tom Cruise.
Oh no, Katie Holmes.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, this all just fell apart. It looks like the basement in the original version of that movie, starring the one who was married to Tom Cruise.
Good job. You got us there.
This may just be Alzheimer's. I don't know. It's only going to get better when I start working in a closet 9 hours a day.
Oh, yeah. So she is stalked in first person by a snarling little creature, which grabs her. Now, when her brother goes to look for her in the basement, we see that she was overtaken by a very rubbery-looking troll.
And then he says to her, "Have you been playing with dead cats?" And I thought, is that a thing she does? Because if so, that is very alarming.
Yeah, because we have no idea what her behavior is like before she was possessed by the troll. So maybe?
It's some real dark shit.
Yeah, it uses a magic ring and some old school optical effects to transform into the likeness of his sister.
And when you say magic ring, what you really mean is a giant, gaudy high school class ring.
Yeah, it's like one of those rings that you get out of one of those machines. You put a quarter in, you get the little plastic bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it glows.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know about you. I have a real like a real warm fuzzy feeling about optical effects like those.
Yes.
I think they're great. I wish that they did them more.
So one of the people they interview in that making of thing is the woman who did all of that, and she was just like, I don't know, I'd been working on TV like sci-fi, and I got a call that they wanted to do this movie. I don't know what the fuck they were talking about, but it was really fun. She's great. Cool. She looks like she'd be like an art teacher, like a kindergarten art teacher, and I'm just like, you
like Miss Lippy from Billy Madison.
Yeah, she's basically that, and it's fantastic.
That's great. Yeah. So Wendy
it's called Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. That's the movie. Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, starring the one who was married to Tom Cruise. And later on, the Mexican guy made a remake of it.
That's pretty great. All right.
And so that's the basement. There you go.
So she jumps out, she scares Harry Potter, and runs back upstairs.
Harry Potter.
I'm gonna call him Harry Potter, though.
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Do you know that they tried to sue J.K. Rowling?
Yes, I did.
I'm pretty sure it got thrown out of court, but I was again. He swung for it.
It did. There's but man, she's a fucking powerhouse. There's no stopping her, which is unfortunate.
Also,
she's a
huge piece of shit.
Massive, gigantic.
Fuck that lady.
So bad to such a point that Elon Musk himself, a massive piece of shit, was like, hey, maybe talk about other shit on my platform.
Yeah, tone it down, lady.
Yep.
You got lucky one time.
Right.
Where's your follow-up, you hack?
Right. Yep. That's really what lies at the heart of it. You just can't get another home run.
Yeah, check out my new podcast, Bashing Rowling. This is every week. Yeah, just me talking shit about it, J.K. Rowling.
Yep. And occasionally Elon Musk.
Yeah, well, more than occasionally.
Yeah. So Dad returns with the most disgusting burgers I have ever seen.
Yeah.
It is vile.
Yeah.
Because you don't really see a burger. You see like lettuce that looks like it was painted green.
And then like covered in like watery mayonnaise, which I don't even like saying watery mayonnaise, but it still looks like that's like and nothing about it is right. It has no top bun.
Nope.
Which I I'm not a doctor, but I'm not a scientist either. I write podcasts.
Yeah. Not a chef.
No.
Certainly not a chef.
No, but I'm pretty sure one of the main and most important components of a hamburger is that it has a top bun.
Yeah. Yeah. You know,
These don't.
These don't. These look like food props that have been sitting around on a set for hours upon hours upon hours, like waiting for the shots to get ready. I don't know why it looks as gross as it does, but fuck me, man, it's so
Because of their rat burger. Because we stick with the rat burger thing, and like after the third time, I'm like, all right, it's not even. It wasn't cute the first time. It's definitely not cute this time.
Yeah. And they're all like, yeah, give me the works. So they're just kind of grabbing burgers and shit. And it's like, wait a second, like you didn't just like place an order. You didn't just say like, here, get me a burger with this on it. Like Dad just went off and bought like 6 burgers and was like, here you go, kids.
Also, nobody is like this. Like no family ever.
No. But Wendy Ann, after some trepidation, she stuffs the, and I say this in quotes, burger into her mouth.
It's a rat burger. It's a rat burger.
The rat burger. And devours it like a wild animal to the surprise of her family, and then runs off demanding more rat burgers.
Yeah, Chrissy is out of control at this point.
Yeah.
Off the rails.
Yeah. So out in the hall, someone has set off the fire alarm. So everyone in the building goes running out so that we can meet.
Why? Who sets off the fire alarm?
Well, I think the implication is that that she did.
Because she's a lunatic.
Because she's insane.
Okay.
And so but we gotta kind of like move along to the next scene so we can get all of the building's occupants out into the hall so we can meet them.
They are a kooky bunch.
Yeah, and honestly, just in this single scene alone, you could make a pretty solid case that the reason everybody acts the way they do in this movie is because there is a gas leak in this building. Mm-hmm. Because these people are freaks.
I'm gonna say the thing about John Carl Buechler, not a good director.
No.
Because this movie feels like nobody directed it. And I mean that that's charitable. Because everybody is doing something different and everybody is doing something extremely strange.
Yeah, their behavior is definitely like his whole thing is like really play it up. Okay, you're the military guy, you're the swinging bachelor, you're the new couple in the building, and
then we get
you're the mysterious old lady.
We get a terrible foreshadowing of Sonny Bono falling down the stairs, hitting his head.
Oh no!
I would have felt bad about it, except he was kind of a piece of shit, so it's fine.
No, I would never shame you for such a joke.
I mean, I have a line, and it's far away, but.
Yeah, so these freaks include Sonny Bono, who's a bachelor, who's always trying to score.
Yeah, he is, quote, into swinging.
Yeah. Yes, he is. There's Barry Tabor, who's the U.S. Marine Corps, who we meet frantically running in place with his Walkman going.
Yeah, just wildly shouting things at them.
Yeah. But I do like the thing is the kids come flying down the steps and they knock Sonny Bono just like aside. He falls down. And then he gets so mad that he goes into the wrong apartment. He comes out, he's like, hey, you're in the wrong apartment. He comes out and he just goes, shit.
Yeah. Sometimes Sonny Bono does bring something to the movie.
Yeah, years of comic time. I love him in Hairspray, first of all. But years of comic
he's
timing.
He's just such a bad person.
Acting opposite Cher.
I mean, Cher really did most of the heavy lifting.
She did.
On television, and I'm guessing in their relationship. Such as it was.
Probably. So yeah, this dude is just like running in place. The whole thing is I can't hear you. I got the headphones on thing. And then rounding out this freak show is this couple, William and Jeanette, which is that's Julia Louis-Dreyfus and her husband.
Brad Hall? That's Brad Hall? That's his name?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there's
he was in some other stuff, I think.
He definitely was. Like this wasn't a one-off.
He's not just Mr. Louis-Dreyfus.
No, but in my heart, he is.
Yes, to me, you will always be Mr. Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah, and so we got our lone widow, Eunice St. Clair, missing from the scene.
Yes, the venerable actor June Lockhart. And if unless you're like me, who as a child stayed up late watching the oldest television possible, you might not know who June Lockhart is. She was on Lassie.
She was Lost in Space.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a real television royalty.
Yep.
Hey, don't be so hard on yourself. Nick at Night fucking ruled.
I watch these shows still.
Yep. So missing from the scene but mentioned is a guy named Malcolm, who is an English professor.
I'm going to say right now, I have a note from this moment that I think stands for the rest of the movie. And it just says, everyone in this movie is so jarring.
It's crazy. They're all loud.
Like, they may as well just be, like, flailing around, like, screaming.
They're frantic and weird. Yeah. Yep. So, so now they kind of resolve the fire alarm thing. Everybody goes back to their apartments. Wendy Ann continues to act like a mental patient. She is, like, grunting and screaming and shrieking and, like, biting her father. It's like there is no Dana, only Zool.
Yes. It's very much like, what did they think a crazy person looked like in movies from the 30s? Like, she may as well have just been like rattling the bars on her cage and snarling.
Yeah. Harry Potter Jr. seems to be the only person in the place that thinks her behavior is troubling. Everybody else is like, oh, don't worry about it. She's just adjusting to the move. It's
I don't understand why don't they think this is odd behavior? Now, again, we have no baseline for Carol Ann, but I still think that this is probably not what she acted like before. Then again, she was playing with dead cats before, so
Yep. Yeah. So the next morning, Sonny Bono's in his apartment with last night's conquest.
Wait, did we skip the part where she's what's her name? The mother is dusting album covers?
No, I got a note about that. Okay. That's coming up. Yeah. So this lady is trying to get out of this guy's bachelor pad as quickly as possible. Well, again,
because even the lady in this movie realizes how fucking sleazy he is.
He is lurching to and fro around his apartment, like. He takes yanks a bottle of liquor off of this bar and like violently throws the cap off and like pours himself a shot and slams it down like a mental patient.
Yeah, he's like Larry from Three's Company, but like exponentially worse.
Yeah, it's like after the cocaine is gone.
Yeah,
really, is really what's happening here.
And she's just like, I got to get out of this apartment. You're gonna try and ride my coattails like your last lady.
Yeah. And so, he's very pleased with himself.
But what's great is that the lights in his apartment are activated by sound. And so they're just like the kind you get at like Spencer's Gift. So in the background, they're just kind of going off.
Oh, yeah. It is the tackiest apartment you've ever seen.
It's like an 8th grade dance. It's real terrible.
Yep. In the Potter's apartment, they wash all of the records in the collection like a couple of regular people.
Yeah, like normal people do. Just doing normal people stuff. And it's so clear that there's nothing in the record sleeve. She's just like tossing them around. They're bending. And it's like, why are you like, again, this is a matter of bad directing where he's just like, I don't know, just do some stuff. And she's like, yeah, but anything specific? And he was like, no, just like, do regular people stuff. He's like, okay, well, what's around me? I guess this.
Yeah.
And she's doing her best. She's doing her best, God bless her, but it's not working.
No.
She looks ridiculous. Just like everybody else in this film, she looks ridiculous.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Carol Ann is up in Sonny Bono's apartment, looking around the place like a gigantic weirdo.
She just fucking So this is the other thing that drives me crazy about this. Everybody just keeps walking into everybody's apartment.
I know. It's very, very strange. And everybody's like, yeah, just make yourself at home.
If somebody walked into my apartment, and this did happen recently, somebody did walk into my apartment recently, not too long ago, and I was like, what are you doing? And she was like, oh, so sorry. I was like, get out.
Wait.
I think she was just a little confused about where she lived.
Okay.
I was not very nice about it. But you just walked into my apartment, so I get to be not very nice about it. To be fair, I'm not very nice about a lot of things, but I don't like that they're just like, they just keep walking into everyone's apartment and they act like that's a normal thing that everybody does.
Yeah.
So again, it's that like, just do normal people stuff. Walk into this apartment of this person you've never met before and start touching all their shit.
Yeah. So she's in Sonny Bono's place and she leads him on a chase around the apartment, eventually revealing herself to be the troll. And now the troll touches him with the magic ring, which causes him to agonizingly transform into some sort of slimy green cocoon, which then erupts and fills the apartment with marijuana, apparently.
Mm-hmm. Now, look, this is what one day of Sonny Bono gets you. That's
right.
it. Yeah, one day.
I do like the transformation because it's like super gross.
It is pretty slimy.
And you can see like when they were doing Troll 2, they reused a lot of the stuff, like the green shit coming out of their mouths and like the fucking tree branches growing out of people and stuff like that.
And I will say that they get away with a lot in this movie because of the fantasy framing. Like the fact that it looks a little bit shitty, you can kind of get away with it because it's like, hey, it's a fantasy movie for kids. Like, of course it looks a little shitty. It's like,
yeah.
All right, fine. I guess it's fine. Everybody's acting like a giant fucking weirdo. You're like, nah, it's a fantasy movie for kids, though. What are you going to do? Like, if they did that in Arena, I'd be like, this movie's got to go. No, thank you.
No subtlety whatsoever.
Yeah, if everyone was walking into everyone's apartment in robot jocks, I think I'd turn it off.
Yeah. But eventually when it does, the cocoon like opens and like the like weed comes out of him and sort of fills the place up. And also, like, more of these, like, rubbery-looking creatures emerge from all this foliage.
And, you know, again, they're not trolls. Trolls are giant things. These are ghoulies.
These are
ghoulies. Just ghoulies.
They're little ghoulies.
I wonder if they decided, and maybe, like, troll is sort of like a kind of like a leftover part of the original script where they were like, I don't know, it's called Troll. Like, why bother changing the name? Or I wonder if they were like, well, we can't call it what else would they be? Goblins, I guess.
Yeah.
And I like, we can't call it goblin. That's not very kid friendly.
I can't call it gremlins. That's taken.
And so I bet they were just like, well, we did ghoulies. We can't do ghoulies. How about, you know what? It was originally called Troll. Fuck it. They're trolls. Like, I don't understand why. It is very clearly, this is not what trolls are. Trolls are sort of like, we all universally understand what trolls are. We can't just start changing the meanings of things.
No.
It gets very confusing, especially for everybody on Facebook.
Yeah. So meanwhile, Harry Potter is looking for his sister, ends up at the widow St. Clair. She's a grouch and also has a living mushroom creature that she hangs out with.
Yeah, he like his sister, wanders up to her apartment, lets himself in
because he says, I think I'm going to throw up or something like that. She's like,
so you just like go to this lady's house, you knock on her door and ask if you can throw up in her apartment? When does that happen? And you're like, yeah, God, I guess so. Again, my response would be, get out. You don't live here.
Right. And I mean, some of these cases, like these kids, they're going to end up on a milk carton, man.
Yeah. And then he comes out after throwing up or whatever, and he just sits down and starts hanging out with this old lady. Like he's real determined to be her friend.
Yeah. She asks him, did you pop your cookies?
And I don't like that. I don't like when she says that. It doesn't feel right.
That's not the saying. That's not the saying.
No. And you know, she has dignity. You know, let her have that.
She's wearing a cameo brooch.
And then he asks her like a series of real fucking stupid questions. And it's like, he says something like, well, I don't really have any friends. It's like, okay, so naturally he reaches out to the oldest person he can find.
Yeah.
and you know, she's on board for some reason.
No, this is like a Harold and Maude kind of thing going on here. Not really, no. Not even a little, but you know,
because they have sex in that movie. And Harold and Maude, they have sex. They don't have sex in this movie.
No. So yeah, they have this bonding moment, him explaining the situation with his crazy ass sister, and then she's like, "Yeah, you can come around, hang out anytime." So now,
weird.
Sometime later, Wendy chases her ball into the street and is nearly run over by a taxi,
which I think would have been good.
Just does put a fucking.
I mean, we wouldn't have had a movie after that, but
just end the movie right.
C'est la vie.
Yeah. Like 20 minutes in, be like, "Oh shit, that's it," I guess.
But like, that's radical filmmaking. You know who would have done that? Kenneth Anger would have done that.
Just defying expectations.
Yeah. He also wouldn't have bothered with an audio track, and we would have been better for that too.
Yeah. So yeah, she's nearly run over, but is pulled out of the way by a little person that she, being the troll, assumes to be an elf or something.
Yeah. She asks him, "Are you an elf?"
Yeah.
And which right out of the gate, offensive.
Right.
You know, I know it's the 80s, but you know, come on.
Yeah, but you know what? He takes it in stride.
He does. And then she says, like 5 minutes later, she's like, "Oh, yes, brother elf." And it's like, bitch, he just said to you that he is not an elf. Now you're just being rude.
Yeah. So it turns out that she invited him over for dinner. So Mom sends Harry Potter out to the store to get some milk, and he runs into the Marine Corps guy. And then Dad puts on "Summertime Blues" by Blue Cheer.
I don't like this.
And then proceeds to dance around the house in a way that suggests that he has never heard music before.
Now, I have a theory. Because, so yes, there is just that. It doesn't matter what he's listening to. He clearly is not familiar with the sounds that he's hearing.
It's like the scene when they put the headphones on Bub in Day of the Dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also, it's like if that was crossed with the dance scene from Friday 4, where it's like you're clearly whatever you're dancing to is not what we're hearing.
But he's singing along with the song.
Is he though? Is my question, because he also obviously does not know the words to the song, which I think is very strange because this was a big hit, not for Blue Cheer. It was a big hit for Eddie Cochran in the 50s.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I guess if you're a big fan of the 70s, obscure 70s rock, Jason Cole, it's a shout out for you, buddy. Otherwise, you'd know the song, you'd recognize it. He obviously doesn't know. He's mouthing words, but it's a real peas and carrots moment because he does not know the words to this song. And it is between his bizarre kind of mouth movements and his very kind of herky-jerky, stilted dancing. I am someone who I do not like watching other people be embarrassed. Other people's embarrassing behavior makes me feel very bad. And this scene is torture. It is.
This is the definition of cringe.
Yeah.
Unreal. It's so hard to watch. Yeah. Whew. So Carol Ann lets herself into the Marine Corps guy's place.
Jesus.
An apartment that is decorated like an African hunting lodge.
Very strange choices.
With snakeskin wallpaper.
Yeah.
And like tiger skins all over the wall.
And what's that game? What's the one that's British? It's pool, but it's not pool. What's that called?
Snooker.
Yeah. I think he has a snooker table.
Yeah.
You know, like the one who was married to Tom Cruise. What's that called? Snooker.
Snooker.
I think that's their daughter.
It's like it's a game. It's got a name like a cookie. So they chat about looking death in the face. And then,
like you do with strangers when you walk into their apartments without asking.
Right. And then she reveals that she's the troll, and then they fight.
Yep. And then he shoots her. And my note says, yeah, shoot that little girl.
Shoots her. Actually, she's the troll at that point.
No,
but still, shoot the troll. But then he does the thing where he cartoonishly bends the gun like it's a fucking Roadrunner coyote cartoon.
And again, I mean, the troll looks. I mean, so I'm watching it in 1080. I think it's 2K. The one I was watching. I got the Eureka.
Oh, okay.
Collection of all of the 2 movies and the documentary. But I think it's just the transfer that Scream Factory did. And
it probably is. It's just they licensed it,
and the close up on the troll's face doesn't look great. You could see that in the mouth there's a weird, obviously it's a prosthetic because he has a huge mouth. It's like a puppety mouth, like an Avenue Q puppety mouth. And you can see there's a weird giant block or something in there, and it's that kind of takes you out of the moment, but otherwise it looks pretty good.
It's that's, if the movie is notable for one thing, it's got a great costume, a monster costume. The rest of them, not so much. It's all just shit that Buechler had kicking around his shop, but that one suit, legitimately a really awesome.
And that troll is played by Phil Fondacaro.
Yeah.
The guy who we will meet very soon. The funny thing about the troll, though, is Buechler had really wanted Phil Fondacaro to be in the movie. And so, band had really wanted him to cast Billy Barty for it.
Huh.
If people don't know who Billy Barty is, you absolutely do. You've seen him in something before. He is a little person actor who was not in Willow. Actually, he might have been in Willow for all I know. So he really wanted him so badly that when he designed the costume, he ended up, because they basically pretty much all but signed the contract with Billy Barty, he redesigned the troll costume to fit Phil Fondacara's body, so they had to cast him in the movie.
No shit, that's pretty great.
And I was like, you know what? Again, I think that's pretty cool. I like their scrappiness.
Yeah.
I like that they're just sort of like, this is DIY. It's a little bit punk rock in a weird way where they're like, we're going to do it our way, like it or not. Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah. And Phil Fondacaro is like one of those guys who, like, when you need a little person to be in a suit, like he was an Ewok, he was in Willow, but Jesus
he was
Christ.
an Ewok, was he?
Yeah. Yep.
But not who's Leprechaun?
Warwick
Davis. God, I love Warwick Davis.
He is the Ewok. Yeah.
See, they should have got Warwick Davis. Phil Fondacaro was great in this, but they should have got Warwick Davis because Warwick Davis should just be in everything. He's fantastic.
He's pretty great. So, Carol Ann terrorizes Harry some more when he gets back from the store. And then Dad laughs.
Is this when she throws him across the room?
Yes.
And it's like, as soon as I saw that, I was just like, you know what? Your sister just threw you across the room and you're not telling anybody. Like, from here on out, everything that happens is on you, Atreyu.
She
like,
displays the strength of a giant.
Yeah.
Literally heaving him across the room. Into
a troll, if you will.
The strength of a troll.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dad laughs like a buffoon as the song ends and declares to no one that he's just doing his aerobics as more nasty rubber monsters burst from the cocoon that was the Marine Corps guy.
Sorry, Harry Potter Jr., your dad can't help you right now. He's busy acting like an imbecile.
Yeah. So Malcolm now, he's the little person from before.
Oh, wait, you just jumped right over that beautiful San Francisco skyline matte painting.
That's right. Yeah.
I think the Los Angeles Times was right for calling it out because
it's a very strange, like, golden hour matte painting.
It is like you would buy a postcard of this.
This is what's it? Thomas Kincaid, painter of light. Like,
yeah,
the only thing that this matte painting is missing is Jesus.
Yeah, the light of Christ is what is missing from this. It looks so absurd, and so I think good on them for really being like, that is some dumb shit, because you are clearly not anywhere. And I love matte painting. I think matte painting is the coolest fucking thing in the world.
It is.
I think it's way cooler than CGI.
Yeah, it's true movie magic.
Yeah. And this is what it looks like when it's done real badly.
So, now Malcolm arrives for dinner. Wendy's parents are under the impression that he's a child.
Okay, because he shows up and it's like, yeah, that's right. Your daughter's new friend is an adult man. Nothing weird about that. But also, your son's best friend is a 74-year-old woman. So things are going really well.
Yeah. But then again, like, they're just barging in on everybody's lives. So, like, how else are they going to socialize?
And like, Harry Potter Jr. had a fainting spell.
Yeah.
So he won't be joining them for dinner because he had a fainting spell, is what they call it. And my note says he learned it from his new friend who gets the vapors regularly.
She has an actual fainting couch up there.
I'm a real wit.
So at dinner, Malcolm recites a poem about the Fairy Queen.
Yeah, because the mother says, "Read to us, Malcolm." Like normal people do at a dinner party full of adults.
Yeah, he says, this is called the Fairy Queen. And Dad goes, ooh, heady stuff.
Yeah. And my note says, Malcolm, that's not reading. It's recitation.
He's doing a real quality recitation. So while this is going on.
Because not only did someone not really direct this, someone also kind of not really wrote it.
that not writer was Ed Naha.
Yeah, who incidentally wrote the first cover story for Fangoria.
No shit. That's awesome.
Yeah, he says he was the first editor of Fangoria. I say, no, you weren't. There was an actual editor for Fangoria, and it wasn't you.
Yeah. So while this is going on, there's a musical number that's happening in the nearby apartments. A song is playing, and all the crappy rubber monsters sway and sing along with it.
And again, you can see what they're trying to do. You can see they're trying to do a labyrinth thing here.
Originally, this was supposed to be like the money shot for the whole movie, but they were like, we do not have the money for what you want to do.
Because Richard Band created like a new language in order to write this song. Yeah. He really, really went out of his way. He invested a shitload of time in this, and he's very proud of it. And, you know, he should be. He wrote a whole fucking language. Can't remember the last time I did that. So he really should be. And I love Richard Band. I think his scores are great. They're a little hacky sometimes, but I think they're great. I think this scene is dumb as hell.
I don't really like the music in this movie. This scene, the song is bizarre. I think some of it's in the trailer that we ran. Yeah. It's just this kind of like atonal, like non-diegetic thing that's going on.
It has like a weird kind of cadence to it that's very like, it has a kid-friendly cadence, I guess.
Yeah. The trolls are supposed to be singing with it, but their voices are all like this, and you can barely make out what anybody is fucking saying. So,
and they're so
it's all a wash.
Cheap looking, and so like they're not even moving rhythmically. They're moving in that very kind of Boglin's way of just
it's like the elf in Elves, where it's just this like solid piece of rubber that they just kind of like sway and wave around.
Yes, it's like the Mum and Sean's puppets moved more freely than these things do. Like it's really kind of terrible. And it is sort of, again, it's sort of a shame because they are all so proud of some of this stuff. And like, I think there are things to be proud of in this. Again, these people made a movie and I have not. So they're light years ahead of me, but it's just, this isn't it. It looks like shit. And I have a hard time believing that they honestly think this holds up well. Because if you look at, even allowing for the disparity in budget, if you look at something like Legend, it is a robust film with like a big story and like great acting.
I mean, just the makeup alone for Darkness is like and also that movie had a significantly larger budget.
Yeah.
And like, you know, that they could afford to sort of do crazy shit.
I mean, a lot more talent.
Right. But my God.
But at the same time, like, you know, I don't expect that. I don't expect Labyrinth. I do expect, I don't know, if you're going to talk about it like you had made Labyrinth, I expect something a little bit more than, like a couple of mad balls on a string, you know? Kind of like weirdly, stiltedly bouncing around in some fake trees to a song that sounds like I wrote it today.
Right. Yeah. So meanwhile, all the fantasy stuff in the Widow St. Clair's place is all dancing around and singing too. She cryptically announces that it's starting again.
And some of the trolls are also like weird kind of hybrids. Like one is a pig, and then one appears to be like some kind of spidery looking thing. And it's like, what fantasy books have you read that include these?
Just flexing a little imagination. Yeah. And then the Widow St. Clair violently blows into a horn that sends all the creatures into a fit.
But also none of the adults seem to notice that she has blasted the shofar.
Nope. No. So Harry Potter, meanwhile, is watching monster movies where everybody's pets look and behave like the real thing, but are actually pod people from outer space, which gives him an idea.
Now, is that Albert Band?
Yes.
In this, and his wife, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I thought.
Yep. So the next morning, Carol Ann acts weird some more, and her parents try and punish her.
Look, we got to stop indulging this little shithead. She's such an asshole. Even if she was a normal kid, I'd be like, you need to fuck off. I hate
this. This is what you get for just being like, hey, you know, kids got to be free. You know, free range kids. They got to be out there and be wild and shit. Like then the next thing you know, they're like pouring a glass of juice on the floor.
Exactly. Listen, everybody, beat your children. That is the official. No,
don't do that. That's bad. It's bad advice. You're about to say that's the official stance of this podcast.
I guess it's not. It's not the 50% stance of this. I'm kidding. I don't advocate beating children. I don't like children, but I don't advocate hitting them. I think it leads to terrible outcomes.
No. So they try to punish her, but Harry Potter intervenes and then goes to hang at the
again. This is the thing. It's like, it's all on you, Atreyu. You keep acting like everything's fine if I just don't tell. That's why I hate kids. I hate kids in movies. I hate kids in real life because they're just like, I won't tell an adult and I'll figure it out. It's like, no, you are dumb as shit. You're 12 years old. You don't know fucking anything. You're not going to figure it out. You're the reason bad things happen. You're the reason why people die. Is what I would say if I had children. This is your fault.
I'm gonna leave that to you then.
Yeah.
So Harry Potter, he goes to hang at the Widow St. Clair's place, and they chat. And eventually, he just asks her if she's a witch.
Also, the dress she's wearing looks cheap as hell.
I love it because it is one of those like Victorian dresses that's just like ankles all the way up to her fucking neck.
But it's like so clearly like cheap ass fabric. Like it's real. But like if you smoked near her, this thing would go up in flames. And then Harry Potter says something. Well, first of all, he's sitting very, very close to her, like uncomfortably, like Harold and Maude close. And then he says something like, why do you have all this stuff? This is all the stuff a kid would have. And it's like, no, it isn't. She has like suits of armor and broadswords.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I would have loved to have had like a medieval arsenal that I just had in my room.
She has like antique furniture, Tiffany lamps, gigantic swords, axes, and pikes. These are not things that children own.
Right. So Wendy, she goes over, brings flowers to Jeanette, which is the lady Louis Dreyfus.
This movie really running out of steam here. And then a bunch of other shit happens.
At a certain point, my notes are just like, and then she goes over here, and then he goes over there, because there's just not much going on in this movie. But yeah, then she does what like normal people do. They just like barge into somebody's apartment and fucking hang out. Harry and the Widow St. Clair, they chat about her background, being a witch, falling in love with a wizard named Torok. Harry explains that his sister is probably an alien now.
Yep. And this is where Eunice tells him, you have to go to your apartment and take care of your sister. And I thought, they're probably just doing this to try to get you to stop walking into other people's apartments.
Yeah. Just go and sit there and watch her and don't leave. Yeah. Just like make sure that she doesn't go anywhere. Just stay in your apartment. And certainly don't come up here.
Yeah, or, if you do, at least knock.
Yeah, so
weirdo.
Jeanette's place, the troll, has turned her into some kind of nymph in her apartment that is now filled
That's what I don't understand. I don't understand this part. So the men get turned into, like, I don't know, gross goo and trolls or whatever, or goblins, boglins. How come Elaine gets turned into a giggling idiot?
Because she's the sexy lady.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, gosh, she looks great.
Yeah. Yep.
Still looks great.
Back at the Widow St. Clair's place, she explains that Harry's sister isn't an alien, but doesn't say what she is. But there's a timer running. They don't have long to reverse some transformation. Obviously, that being the girl is turning into the troll forever or something.
There's barely a script for this movie.
So now Jeanette's boyfriend shows up and he busts into her apartment to find that she's a giggling forest idiot now.
Yep. And she has two giggling forest idiot friends.
Right.
For some reason.
Just like her.
No.
Yeah. And he is somehow not completely overtaken by madness at the sight of her apartment, now a sprawling fairy forest.
He doesn't even seem to have questions.
Nope. He just happily chases her into the forest while all manner of crazy shit goes on around him until they run into the troll.
Yeah.
So then Wendy goes to Malcolm's place. And he tells her more or less that he has cancer and confesses to.
And she says, remember when I asked you if you were an elf? And I thought, yeah, it was incredibly rude.
Yeah. And he confesses to her that he wishes that he could be an elf or something.
Now, I have conflicted. This is the one serious thought I had about this movie, because this film's terrible. But this is the one serious thought, because he goes into this kind of like monologue about how when he was a kid, his parents told him he wasn't going to grow anymore, and he wanted to believe that he was an elf or some shit because he wanted to be special. And so, first of all, in the making of documentary, Ed Naha is saying, I thought this was what he really acts the shit out of this scene. I thought it was so beautiful the way he said this, and I thought, yeah, man, you wrote this. So you're kind of just giving yourself a compliment right now. But as I was watching it, I thought it's really interesting that in this dumbass movie, they are actually taking the time to acknowledge that to be different in this way would be very painful for a child and for an adult for that matter. And that they would have very complicated feelings about it and they might kind of indulge in fantasy or whatever. And so on one hand, I was like, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's cool because I don't know that it is.
It's, I'll tell you what it is. It's more sophisticated than you're expecting.
Yes, right? It is 100% that. And I was sort of like,
because it is a nice
like
moment.
That they're doing.
It's a surprising moment. And I think that he is, like I said, he's acting the shit out of this part. Like in all of the scenes he's in, he seems to be taking this movie more seriously than everybody else. And I kind of appreciate that.
Yes, and that's why I think some of the reviews are a little unfair because they're all like, "Oh, Michael Moriarty is the only one acting this movie," and I was like, "Yeah, he's acting like a fucking idiot." But I think Phil Fondacaro, I think, actually does do a very good job in this film, given what he's working with. I just was a little bit troubled with the idea of like, yes, you're acknowledging it. I like that, and I like that you're taking this seriously, and you're acknowledging that this is a difficult thing for people because you could just really lean in and go like do what Leprechaun does and kind of make a big joke of it. And it's the 80s and that would have been very, very easy. And they do to a certain extent. But they do sort of acknowledge that there's a lot of complicated feelings that come with this. But then I kind of remembered it's also written by a sort of averaged height person. So it's like you're not this and this, so it's like for Ed Naha to be like, oh, this really beautiful moment. First of all, fuck you, but also like you're not the one experiencing this. So I'm not sure how I feel about you doing this. Like if he had written this or if he had improv'd this, then I probably would have been really, I don't know. I had weird feelings about it because I was just like, it is more sophisticated than I was expecting, and you really don't expect it from a Charles Band production. No. But at the same time, I was also like, Jesus, Malcolm, like, this is something you should say for your therapist and maybe not an 8-year-old girl who you just met who keeps walking into your apartment.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the widow St. Clair goes from door to door armed with an elaborate spear. Finding them all empty, she has a weird conversation with Harry Potter Sr., asking him if he knows what day it was when they dropped the bomb on Hiroshima. I was expecting this to be like some sort of profound story revelation, but she simply says, I don't know.
Huh?
No, it was a Monday, August 6th, by the way.
I was going to say, I think it was August.
Yep. So Harry Potter explains to his dad that his sister is a monster, and then
he's reading at the same time. He's reading something, and there's a ad in the magazine that Harry Potter Jr. is reading that says "exciting movie tie-in magazines," and I thought that does sound exciting.
That's pretty cool. He explains to his dad that she's a monster, and then in his Malcolm's room, we've seen that he's been turned into a cocoon, and then a crappy rubber elf made in his likeness emerges from the cocoon.
Is there a name for the uncanny valley of Uncanny Valley?
It's the deepest depths of the Uncanny Valley.
It is so disturbing looking.
It is
because it is very human looking, but it's tiny and terrible.
Yeah, and there's something about this, and it must be he must have just bought a shitload of whatever that rubber stuff is, because all of Buechler's creature effects kind of look this way, where they're very shiny and reflective, because whatever that rubber is just like highly reflective, and it looks like rubber,
Yeah. And they do all really look the same. Even when he makes one that is supposed to look like Phil Fondacaro, it still just looks like the Ghoulies version of him.
Yeah, it's all
shiny.
It's all wet.
Shiny
it's
version.
all wet and shiny.
Yeah, it's like, what if a baby was born with pointy ears and a mustache? Like, I don't like it. I really don't like the way it looks.
I don't care for it. So now there's some more paranoia about Carol Ann at dinner, and then a monster escapes one of the apartments.
This movie fucking sucks.
Ends up blasted by the Widow St. Clair's magic spear.
This is what I believe when she says something to him like, well, I don't hang out with liars. And I thought, but you probably shouldn't be hanging out with teenage boys either.
Yeah. So that night, Harry Potter sees the troll reading one of his monster magazines in his sister's bed. And then in the morning, he goes to the Widow St. Clair's place as the building is starting to be overtaken by foliage and a terrible wind in the hallway. And this is where she tells him a story of the world in the before times. And she shows Harry a picture of Torok the troll, who looks just like the troll in the building. It explains that the world used to be equally ruled by fairies and humans, but a bunch of the fairies weren't cool with that and they wanted it all. So they fought over the world and the fairies lost. But Torok, is here now trying to take over the world again, starting with the apartments in this building.
Yeah, okay. This is a part I really don't. Except, first of all, there's a lot of arbitrary rules to this game here.
Yeah, because once
also, why does the troll show up here? Is it because June Lockhart lives there?
Maybe
It doesn't matter. I know it doesn't matter, but it's sort of like why?
Because also, like, once the building is fully transformed, it'll somehow create a chain reaction that turns the entire world into the fairy world or something.
I mean, this is just one cheap ass apartment in quote unquote San Francisco.
You know what it is? This is like the Sentinel, but just like even crappier.
Yeah, this is somehow the cheaper Sentinel.
So,
but still like kind of as ableist. Also, June Lockhart is being really whimsical about all of this too, and it's like you're basically saying that your ex-boyfriend / troll monster has come to take over the world, but she's doing it all with like this kind of like sly smile, and she like kind of sends him out like, go in there and get him, boy.
She gives him the magic spear and tells him to kill the biggest creature he can find to put a stop to the curse and save the world.
Which again, that's pretty vague.
Yeah. Then she takes her hair down and is magically young for some reason.
Yeah, now she is her daughter.
Yeah, now it's Anne Lockhart, who played Sheba on the original Battlestar Galactica.
Mm-hmm.
She goes out in search of Torok, but gets her spear stolen by a monster and ends up cornered in the hallway of the building by a bunch of crappy rubber creatures.
So, like, this whole movie has, for the first, I'm going to say 50 minutes, it kind of holds together. You sort of get it. The last 30 minutes really undoes any coherence that had come before.
It's fucking a grab bag of just ideas to just sort of get us to the finish line.
Like, yeah, I feel like they were just like, hey guys, you are running over budget. You are running the time here. Wrap it up. And they were like, okay, she's a tree stump.
Yeah. So yeah, she gets back to her apartment, grabs a sword, but Torok's there waiting for her. So now Harry Potter, sensing trouble, runs to help and finds the place just about totally taken over. It's all spooky now with vibes provided by Smoke Machine.
Yeah, it has a real Watcher in the Woods thing going on.
And then he gets...
Remember when we watched that movie and it sucked?
Yep, I definitely do. Go back.
It was better than this, though.
Go back and listen. Do you think so?
I think so, yes.
I think so. He gets magically pulled into the Widow St. Clair's place and finds that she's been turned into a talking rubber tree now. And it's up to him to fix everything. Also, his parents open the door to their apartment and see the place is all jacked up and weird now. So Harry is out in like a magical forest and he finds his sister kept in a magic box and he uses the spear to break it and wake her up, but they're attacked by another giant crappy rubber monster.
From a movie that they made 2 years earlier.
So outside in the streets, the building is being overtaken by stop-motion vines, and people with mullets look on with terror as the vines wrap themselves around the building. Now, Harry and his sister fight with the crazy monster, but it's too powerful for them, and Harry lost the spear anyways. It's about to kill Wendy, but Torok throws the spear at it, which kills it, while the kids escape back to their apartment.
I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. So when they open their door, they find the place is back to normal. Out on the street, the Widow St. Clair, now young, congratulates Harry, then fucks off. And then they throw their stuff in the car and take off. Cops on the scene go into the building to look around. One of them finds the basement door, which opens up into a magical fairyland. Then
we got a Charles Band cameo on the street.
Yeah, and in POV, we see Torok's arm with the magic ring approaching the cop. Roll credits. Thank God.
Look, this was my idea, and it was a bad one.
They're not all going to be winners.
I mean, I think this might. I was feeling more charitable towards it when I watched it. I think this might be the worst one we've watched yet.
Does that include elves?
At least I laughed heartily at elves.
I know.
Well,
with this one,
I think Rob Zombie's Halloween is the worst one we've watched yet.
Yeah. This one's definitely up there. Like with
this
elves,
is bad.
We definitely was so unhinged and feral and weird that like you can only go insane while watching it. This is one where I kept like going like, oh God, like how much more of this movie is
because it's boring.
And that thing is that really
it doesn't make any sense and it's boring.
The thing that really nails it down, that really, really sends the whole thing home is this movie is 82 minutes long and it took me 3 hours to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, it really, I felt like it went by pretty quickly, but definitely I was looking at my phone in the last like 20 minutes or so. Like I really kind of checked out towards the end, and it just like, I understand that there is a market logic for this movie that I get.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the money, the thing about fantasy movies is that they cost a lot of money because they're big and require a lot of special effects. If you can't execute that, why would you try?
Right.
And I mean, I guess that's sort of the band philosophy is you just fucking swing at every pitch and you get what you get. But like, I don't know. Like,
this one definitely was, I mean, it landed a solid return on investment, but this is not a movie that people remember. It's like not one that like
but that's the way they talk about it though, is just like, oh, everybody comes up to me and I'm like, all right, but where are they coming up to you?
Yeah.
Is it just like at a Wendy's or is it at like a convention? Because that's a real self-selecting audience. Like, I think 2 has a bigger reputation than this movie.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, not for any good reason, but like this seems like a movie that it didn't need to be made, and it's so forgettable. Like nothing happens, and other than that weird ass Michael Moriarty lip syncing scene that just makes me deeply uncomfortable, it's a real forgettable movie.
Yeah, that's to me. That's the worst thing that a movie can be. Like there are like there's good movies and then there's bad movies, and I can enjoy bad movies. Like we have done several on this that are tremendously enjoyable. But
I think there's even an art to bad movies.
Yeah, but like
if you accept that what you're doing has real limitations and you lean into it.
Yeah, but when a movie leaves me with nothing and I'm just like here like really kind of struggling to think of what to say about it, like that's kind of like the biggest crime a movie can commit.
Yeah, I mean, it was sort of like The Hitcher. Like The Hitcher, it just felt so derivative of all this other stuff that was done so much better.
Yeah.
That's like, I think that is the worst thing you can do. It's like, you're not good, you're not bad, you just make me want to watch something else.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Well, you just keep going. You make 1,000 other movies. You make what is it? Night of the Evil Bong or something.
Evil Bong, Ginger Dead Man, Shrunken Heads.
You just do what you do, and that's what you do, and then people think that's what you do.
Evil Bong versus Puppet Master.
Yeah, versus Megalon or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Versus King Ghidorah.
I'd pay to see that. I'd pay to see retro Puppet Master versus King Ghidorah.
Versus Ghidorah.
Oh boy. What do we got on deck? What's next?
Well, as we are breaking with tradition. We are doing something we've never done before. We're going into the 90s.
Ooh.
Yeah. We are going to be joined by a couple of guests, and we're going to be watching The Blair Witch Project.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
And if all you people out there are thinking, I bet Dave has a certain opinion about The Blair Witch Project, you're probably right.
I've got a certain opinion of the Blair Witch Project too, which, good God, I feel bad for our guests already.
Yeah, to be fair, this was chosen by one of our guests, so.
Oh boy, it's gonna be one of those ones. But yep. All right. So yeah, be back here in a week when 99-cent rental takes a look at Cool World. Good God, I hope we've got something to say about that one.
Yeah, it's a sexy animated movie. It's violent too. All the great things that did not need to go together.
And then,
oh my God.
And then we'll be back in 2 with the Blair Witch Project.
I gotta stop acting so impulsively.